This core is of the Jurassic Rock Creek member of the Fernie Formation. Its location is 10 of 25, 52, 15 west of the 5th. And we've chosen it for some very conspicuous trace fossils that we'll get to in a moment. A little background: the Jurassic Rock Creek member is in west central Alberta. It's a pretty complex exploration target, and it's really not that well studied, nor is it very well understood. The ichnology of it suggests that it's shallow marine, and as you can see in this image with the coarser clastics and the robust trace fossils, that it's probably a conceivable sedimentary environment. I say it's marine because we have a range or diversity of trace fossils, the most conspicuous of which is this nested chevron shape burrow, which is what we call Siphonichnus. It's actually the passageway of a bivalve upward through the sediment as it pushed with its fleshy foot through time. You can see here a passageway that was likely made by the bivalve siphon. That's a tube it uses to connect to the sediment-water interface, and within faunalized bivalves, that food serves the function of allowing it to breathe and feed. There's other Siphonichnus in this core, and you can see these little chevrons here, smaller bivalve moving upwards through the sediment. Looks like another trace fossil that we refer to as Tychichnus. But if you were to look at a bedding plane view of this trace, you would see it's not elongate like Tychichnus, rather it's oval shape, or at least roughly circular in shape. There's likely siphon passages here, so that's part of a bivalve trace here. And there's another siphon passage here, and this is box 4 and 3, by the way. If you go upwards a little bit to box 2, you see more beautiful Siphonichnus. I feel guilty almost spoiling you with these Siphonichnus because they're almost as good as you'll ever see anywhere. So this might be the Siphonichnus acme of your life. And as we look at the core in a more general way, we see other trace fossils such as these little flecks that might be cylindrichnous. I haven't really decided yet. There's biodeformation associated with the Siphonichnus, and there is a lot of other small trace fossils throughout here. Let's see if we can point at some, just little planolides and whatnot. And there's even a zone here with these little clusters of white dots. That's a marine trace fossil we call chondrites. So this looks to me an awful lot like a relatively near shore marine deposit, maybe in the proximal offshore, something like that. Bivalves like this are very common in the proximal offshore and in the lower shore face, and can be common all the way up into the middle and upper shore face and the foreshore or intertidal zone, depending on the energy conditions. Certainly we find these in faunalized bivalves to generally be, in the proximal offshore to the shoreline, something like that. Let's have a closer look at Siphonichnus here, and you look at some of the key criteria we could use for assigning ichnotaxon such as Siphonichnus. There's a scale of 5 centimeters, so the trace itself is about 5 centimeters wide. It proxies more or less the width of the bivalve. You can almost imagine the bivalve sitting here, and then as it pushes up and reestablishes itself at a higher level, you have this ascension, and we call these equilibrichnia, because the animal is most likely keeping up with some sedimentation rate, something we'll see also with the Russellia core from the Blue Sky Formation. Again, there's the siphon mark there, so it's a siphon passing through the sediment, and there's a lot of biodeformation associated with the side of this burrow. The main reason we pulled out this core was for Siphonichnus, so you can look at it and appreciate it and take your notes, but you don't need to go much beyond that here.